There is a dirty little secret about why all those free tips and tricks and strategies are not working for your sex drive, but it is not what you think. If you are new to my world, I am Erin, and I love helping women increase desire with my Desire to Fire program. But I have not always had a great sex life. In reality, it was actually very bad for a very long time. I'm talking over a decade, probably closer to 15 years. And I get it. I have been where you are at and used to feel probably what you're feeling right now, where sex feels like a freaking chore and you dread it. And you hate when your partner tries to have sex with you because you now have to be the bad guy and say no for the thousandth time. And you hate feeling like you're rejecting them because you can see that they feel hurt and unloved and rejected, but you just cannot right now. And I remember what it feels like to lay awake at like 2 a.m. with my thoughts racing and being like, is this just my life now? Is this just how it's going to be? And thinking, okay, how am I going to deal with this and like go through the motions and make this work somehow for the rest of my life? It was terrible. It was terrible. I remember the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment, not even knowing what's going on. And I distinctly remember this turning point. I had had this really great date night with my partner. We had gone out to this nice dinner and I had steak and wine and I was feeling great and we had laughed and we had great connection. We got home and we were cuddling up on the couch for a movie night. And he reached over to cuddle. And my God, my walls slammed into place so fast that you would have thought he was trying to assault me. And in that moment, I immediately pushed him away and I pulled back because there was this expectation. It wasn't from anything he was doing, but it was this feeling that I had. We had this great date night, so you know what comes next, right? And I realized in that moment when he was like, "What the fuck, Aaron?" and was looking at me all confused, that I wasn't just avoiding sex, I was shutting out all affection. Because every time he touched me, I was worried that it might lead to more, so I was shutting it all down. That sucked. It sucked to have this realization that connection in my relationship was out the door. So I started trying all the things, or I tried what I thought was everything. And I tried the toys and the lingerie and the fancy date nights and scheduling sex, but that led to more pressure and frustration. And I tried the conversation cards to stimulate more emotional connection and the date night scratch offs to switch things up and bring in some novelty. And I tried therapy and couples therapy and pelvic floor PT. Right? And I tried to learn it all. I listened to all of the podcasts and I went down the Google rabbit hole more times than I would like to admit. And I listened to all of the audiobooks and I read all the books. I even read Come As You Are, right? Which is a wonderful book and was so helpful in giving me this knowledge on my body and how it worked. But none of this actually changed my sex life. I didn't want sex suddenly. Like I wanted to want it, but all these things actually made it worse because when they didn't work, I thought, well, it must just be me. This must just be how it is, right? And my deep fear was that I was broken, that something was wrong with me, that I was experiencing this. Because everybody talks about sex like it's this super wonderful thing. So I was like, what the hell? Why is that not happening for me? So I was devastated and I sat with that for a little bit. And then I said, you know what? No, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. So I went on a mission to find out why. What was going on for me? Why was it suddenly so hard? And what I discovered is that this is not a sex problem. I know that sounds really wild. Stick with me for a second. You're like, Erin, it feels like it because when I am dreading sex and it feels like a chore and we are fighting about sex, it feels like a sex problem. I get it. I hear you. But what I discovered is that when sex starts to cause stress and tension and expectation and obligation, what happens is that your body activates a nervous system response. It sends you into this fight or flight response. So when your spouse tries to cuddle you or puts his hand on your back when he's passing by in the kitchen and you're doing dishes, or kisses you when they get home from work, you don't relax and enjoy that and have that be a point of connection. You tense up because it might lead to more, and you don't want to be that bad guy and have to say no again because your brain is just kicking on the wrong system. It's not actually a sex drive issue. Your sex drive is there, but it is buried under the weight of the sex expectations. These are the expectations we have about sex. And right now, those are stress and pressure and tension. This was a game changer for me because when I learned this, I realized that I wasn't actually broken. My sex drive was there. It just wasn't kicking on how I wanted it to. Amazing. Loved learning that. Felt very good for me because I had spent a decade feeling like there was something wrong with me. But learning this still didn't fix my sex life. And I was like, God, somebody just cut me a break. Because now I knew all of this stuff, but my actions weren't any different, right? Another aha moment came for me when I had all this knowledge, right? Like I realized that I had all this knowledge and I knew all these things, and I now knew what type of sex drive I had, and I knew about the inhibition and excitation system, and I knew about my pleasure pathways, and I knew that there were communication skills that I needed to bring into my relationship, all of this stuff. I had all of this knowledge. But when he would reach over and put a hand on my leg when we were just chilling on the couch, I would still tense up. I would still make excuses to get out of sex and pretend to have a headache. I would still fake it and go through the motions because I didn't want to reject him and I didn't want to deal with the fallout. And I would do it to buy me some time and like reset the clock so I didn't have to do it again for a while. I was still doing all the same shit. And what I realized is that I was stuck in something called knowledge acquisition. It's the free content trap because learning feels good. When we learn something new, it gives us a dopamine hit because it feels like we're doing something. But learning is not the same as doing, right? I learned that knowledge is not actually power. Knowledge becomes power when we apply it. Because I realized that my sex life was never going to change by just learning alone. I had to actually change my patterns of functioning. I had to change what I was doing and how I was showing up in this and how I was working on this with my partner, all that stuff. I couldn't think my way out of that. I had to act my way out of it. Because I had downloaded all the free shit that I could find. And I had all of these guides and these manuals and these things sitting in my inbox. Half of them I didn't even open, right? So I had all this, but then what? I didn't apply it. I didn't know how. I had all this information, but I didn't know what to do with it. So what did I do? I finally asked for help, which was so hard because we talk about sex drive like it's this easy, spontaneous thing that should just happen and like is supernatural. So I was like, well, that should be how it is for me. So I was embarrassed to ask for help. I was worried that nobody was going to be able to help me because that fear that I was broken was still deep down in there. But I asked for help and I worked with professionals that actually knew their shit, that knew about female arousal and had been there. Because for me, it was really important to work with somebody who had experienced this, who had been through it and knew what I was talking about. That is what finally led to change because I could take all that great information I had and actually apply it. And oh man, it was so much easier. So much easier. I know now, I did not know then. I know now that people who work with professional coaches see 80 to 90% improvement. But when you try to do it on your own, it is like low double digits because we need to know how to apply it and we need help with accountability. I didn't realize that that's what I was missing until I was in it and doing it and it became easier. And I was like, oh, okay, now I see. Now I see. And I was like, damn, I wish I had done this earlier. But that's neither here nor there. I was finally doing it, and that's what was important. And that's how I've built my three-phase Desire to Fire program. It is based on action. And it's fun action because we have to want to do this or we don't have motivation, right? But it feels really good to soothe that activated nervous system. We're not meant to live in that fight or flight state. It's really exciting to map your pleasure pathways and actually learn what no one has probably taught you about female arousal and how to actually stimulate this. It's actually a lot of fun when you know how to do it. And it feels really amazing and relaxing to be able to reconnect and actually just relax into that intimacy in your relationship instead of having to be hyper vigilant and guarded every time you're around them to actually just enjoy intimacy and time together. It feels good and it's fun to do the work in this way. I got stuck for a very long time because I was afraid to take action. I thought that it was going to be really scary and really hard. And it was for like zero point 0.2 seconds. It's like the whole cliche, starting is really the hardest part. That was my experience. Starting was the hardest part. And then I finally started to feel more in control. And I finally started to see results. And I started to finally feel better. And it was like a positive feedback loop then. It got easier and easier and better the longer it went. The women that I work with are ready to dive in and start transforming their relationships like this because they know that they deserve amazing, strong relationships. They don't want to settle for like, this just is how it is. And I guess it's fine and I'll deal with it forever. No, they're like, fuck that shit. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I want this to feel good and strong in the long run. And if you are one of them and you want to see if you qualify for my Desire to Fire program, then book a call here. The link is here for you to book a call and let's chat. Because sex is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be a point of connection. And I am on a mission to bring that to women who want it. Because I don't think that we deserve to feel like sex is a chore and just deal, quote unquote, with low desire and just have to go through the motions to keep the peace in our relationship. Fuck that. No, I think we deserve more and we deserve better. So if you want that, are you going to be one of those women that finally take the action and come chat with me and see what we can do about this? I hope so. Okay, talk soon.